right.
Yeah, thank you.
Make some noise.
Yeah. Right? Okay, let's do it. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our session. My name is Sarah Buckler. Thrilled to be here. I'm the CEO of customer experience firm Tangible. Nice to see so many faces in here. I'm joined by an amazing and incredibly talented group of leaders across entertainment, studios, media, agencies, you name it. I want to give them a moment to just introduce themselves. Susan, you want to start?
Oh, sure. Susan Sheekhofer, I'm the Chief Media Officer at WPP Media. We represent the partnerships with all the media companies, from the big multi-platform broadcasters through down, the digital agencies, and partners. And I also oversee the sports and entertainment content practices as well.
Awesome.
And I'm Caitlin Croneman. I'm a VP of Sales at Tubi. I've been at Tubi for 5 months, so I'm a little bit of a Tubi newbie. Prior to that, I was at Snapchat for almost a decade, and then before that, I was at Viacom for about 12 years. For those of you who are not as familiar with Tubi, perhaps, it is one of the largest free streamers. We have a monthly audience of 100 million viewers, and we're actually home to the largest content library in streaming with over 300,000 movies, TV shows, and originals. So if you haven't checked out Tubi, this is my plug right now. Please check it out. There will be content that will appeal to you.
Hi, I'm Kiesel Jasek. I'm the EVP Head of Innovation at Publicis Media. I work in a group inside of Publicis Media called PMCI. We're Publicis Media Content and Innovation. So I run the I in that PMCI. Been working in the marketing and advertising space with a focus on entertainment production and technology. Been at Publicis Group for 18 years. I'm happy that my career there is now an adult. But no, and I've been working in the entertainment space as part of my technology role for a long time. And where I'm excited at the conversation today is bringing technology and entertainment together in the new ways we're forging those paths.
Hi, I'm Margaret Stoll. I'm a little bit of an outlier on this panel, I think, as mostly a content creator. I started in the game industry and as a writer primarily. I've had a career as a novelist. I've worked with Marvel for a long time in the comic space. And now I have a transmedia studio where our focus is de-siloed development. We build worlds, essentially, and then express them across multiple product lines. We're still in our quiet phase, so I have nothing to promote except for I hear Tubi is really great.
Thank you. Yes, it is. Go on, more.
Shireen.
Hi, everybody. Shireen Miller-Russell with Warner Brothers Discovery. And I have the pleasure of leading up our client partnerships team. And we're responsible for creating alignment with brand partners across the entire ecosystem and portfolio of all things Warner Brothers. So everything from HBO Max to opportunities with our theatrical releases. We come off of a great year like Sinners, in addition to Minecraft, and many more. And then obviously we also have our portfolio of linear networks, which is inclusive of everything from the Oprah Winfrey Network to Food Network, TLC, CNN, and many more. And so we have the responsibility and, again, delight of creating really meaningful ecosystems and partnerships with brands across all of those respective platforms.
Awesome. I promised you a killer lineup, and I think it speaks for itself. Well, let's dive in. Entertainment has always shaped culture. I think we all know that well and good. But today it also launches global brands. Think Minecraft, Barbie, Lego, Harry Potter. The list goes on and on. You know, blockbuster films, streaming series, live sports, entertainment, you name it. It comes with coordinated momentum across experiences and platforms and whatnot. And today we're going to really unpack that. What does it mean to launch a global entertainment brand? And we are using the word entertainment broadly to include content creation, sports, et cetera. So let's start with a little bit of a warm-up, a round robin, if you will, Caitlin, to kick us off. When we talk about movies and live entertainment as global brand launches, Caitlin, what do you think that actually means in practice? I'm curious. And what do you feel are the non-negotiables in sort of an attention-rich economy for capturing a consumer, an audience's attention and scaling it.
Yeah, I think the way that I interpret that is that it's no longer just really about that premiere moment. Audiences today have so many choices. So it's really about getting them to pick you, stick with you, and really build with you. I know I'm repeating myself here, but I'm going to say it a couple times so that everybody leaves knowing that Tubi has a monthly audience of 100 million viewers. And they are streaming over 1 billion hours of content every single month. So the team at Tubi, I'm again new, so I got to give kudos to them, has done a really good job of breaking through and earning our audience's attention. And what I think the non-negotiables are, or maybe even our superpowers, are first that we create a frictionless viewing experience. We are 100% free and very easy to use, which in today's landscape is a very valuable offering, as the prices continue to go up across the market. And then the other piece, or the two other pieces, is one is our content strategy. At Tubi, we do not program for the monoculture. Instead, what we like to focus on is really fueling niche fandoms at scale. And we let our audiences decide, what does good content look like? And then the third, which really is more within my wheelhouse, is that we have a very consumer-centric advertising philosophy. So there's a clear value exchange. We deliver premium content in an ad-supported environment. But we do not bombard our users with advertising. We actually have one of the lowest ad loads in the industry, with about 4 to 6 minutes per hour of content. And we're really guided by consumer feedback, again, listening to your audiences, of if you're going to advertise to me, make it worth my time. So that's kind of a long-winded, non-negotiable to say, listening, understanding, and serving your audiences is truly the most important non-negotiable. And what we say at Tubi is that we are fans of our fans.
I like that. Susan, how about for you? What are the non-negotiables?
So I come from a different part of the
Right.
business because
Right.
we're representing our clients or our brands with the media companies. And the wonderful thing is the breadth of what is available in the marketplace. Working with, it could be, if you look at like what NBC, for example, has done, like they did Dancing with the Star to promote Universal Studios, to promote Wicked for Good.
Yeah.
Like they took over the entire episode, featured the director, had video clips of the actors, right? So like that it was such a perfect alignment with music and choreography, right? So that's like one small example. But that's what we're looking at with our clients all the time, is what are the big brand plays? Like where do the audiences align? And it's not just that moment in time, but it's surrounding it with all of the forms of media. So it could be, what's streaming that day, but then there's the, YouTube distribution, there's the potential podcast extension. So all of it is to align the actual content that aligns with the audiences to represent the brand in a really positive way. What's the partnership? What's the purpose of that partnership? And how does that perform?
Yeah, really interesting. Margaret, I'm curious your take on this as the creative in the room. What's your perspective on non-negotiables?
We really look at all of those components at the beginning of building a creative product or a world. So we'll be like, what works right now is legacy media. So our job is to make sure that by the time we release like a major tentpole offering for us, it is legacy media. Yeah. So we are looking at every single channel we can use. And really for us, that starts with creators in the global markets we want to be in. Like, have we built it with artists from Southeast Asia or Korea or Japan, if that's where we want to be? Are their fans our fans from day one? Are we bringing the fandoms with us, which is really a thing from Marvel, I learned, which was sort of Stan Lee naming the artists in the bullpen, right? And saying, these are characters. The people who, the people who love us are going to love us, and they're going to love everything about us. So that was really a Marvel thing, was like learning that the journey really matters. And I think in this like professional consumption culture, it does.
Yeah. Keith, how about for you?
I think something that's pretty new, contemporary, and certainly I felt it when I went to the movie theater to see the Minecraft movie earlier this year, was what's that participation moment between the fandom, the brands who are potentially elevating, accelerating, or participating in the fandom themselves, the IP holder themselves, the studio, et cetera. Can we all rally around what that moment of focus and participation is going to be? Because I saw that FOMO is so strong with IP. If you feel like you're a fan and we've developed you and built you into a fan and shaped you into a fan, and you miss out on that, or you missed your chance to have that moment, that you can't replace that with media investment. You can't replace that with anything else. You can fuel it, you can accelerate it, you can promote it, and you can identify it through data. But that feels like a non-negotiable today. Where can my fans participate with the IP, and what is going to get them so excited that they can't miss it?
That was the thing we learned at book festivals, by the way, was this moment where people stopped wanting authors' autographs and started wanting a selfie that they took themselves with you because it was for their platform and their brand. And that, like, understanding your role in their brand is important for your community.
Yeah, I love the notion of IP as an ecosystem. I think that's really interesting. Shereen, what's your take on this, the non-negotiables?
Well, listen, I think at the end of the day, culture moves at the speed of culture. And there's an awareness and a nuanced accuracy that you have to have as creatives, right? But then when it comes to the world and where I sit and our teams, as we're led by Ryan Gould and who as our president of ad sales, we're there to be in service to the partners that want to take that ride. And while we know our IP is so great, we have to deliver against, our point of differentiation is how do we deliver to give our brand partners something very unique and rare. So when you talk about the partnership with Minecraft and a brand like McDonald's coming in and saying, we need to reshape the conversation with young male consumers and bring them back in because we're recognizing that our competitive set is grabbing them, we create a moment. But it doesn't stop there, because while that happens in theaters, then that migrates to another moment on HBO Max when the film is released from the first time, streaming in households. And so we want to be a part of that journey, and we want to make sure that the brands see the rise and opportunity, and it's innovation. What's the unique conversation that we're going to have? How do we create for fandom? How do we create for experiences, both in real life, and more importantly, how do we let audiences tell stories? And if we can bring the brand partners in and weave them in thoughtfully, smart and intelligent ways, everyone wins. And it's really democratizing the IP so that there's lift. And the bottom line for our brand partners is just as important as it is for us at the end of the day.
And that Minecraft program is still spoken about
Yes.
by those brand partners
Yeah.
very excitedly, very successfully, and ultimately, yes, they think that's a model you can build off of, but now how do we remix it? How do we evolve it? How do we find something new and fresh?
100%, and to complement, and again, I don't mean to make this a moment for Keith and I as we talk about publicists, but also another.
I mean, we're having a moment,
Yes.
which is what we've been talking
Yes.
about.
But even with Dairy Queen partnered with us for Superman last year and coming back next year as we think about Superman's return in 2027 and how we could create a product in the actual Dairy Queen that was attached to the Superman IP, but then conversations around it. And so again, we have to continue to innovate to make it work, because to your great point earlier, Caitlin, there's so much out there, and everyone's competing for attention, and so how do we make sure that it's meaningful?
I also think it's important to, as much as we try and create moments for that connection with the fans, is also kind of let them lead the way and decide of what's going to break through, what's the moment that's going to break through with the Minecraft movie, or we have a Tubi original movie Sidelined, The QB and Me, and a moment that broke through with our fans that we could have never scripted is a line where Noah Beck is the star. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him. He's a massive social creator, over 40 million followers. But he unintentionally throws a pass to the new head cheerleader and, of course, love interest. And it cues this line of nice catch, cheer. And 3 seemingly insignificant words took off. The fans were recreating it all over social. It caused so much attention that then college football teams started reenacting it, and kind of culminated with NFL teams reenacting these 3 words and this little scene from our movie And it just became so much more powerful because it was fan fueled. And they were the ones that said, this is a moment. Again, not something that you can necessarily script, but then when you find it and you see it taking off, to your point, keep fueling that.
Yeah. I love this concept that we're talking about of leading and who leads. One of the things I love most about this panel is the sort of variety of industry that we have represented here. And I want to talk about a little bit about the evolution of leadership in entertainment and content development in this moment. Shireen, I think you probably have actually a unique vantage point from where you sit in the role that you play. Who do you feel is really leading a global entertainment brand launch at this point? Is it studios or creators? Is it fans themselves who are leading? Is it some combination of those things? I'm curious your perspective on this.
Well, as evidenced by the headlines as it relates to Warner Brothers Discovery right now, it's I do think it's IP, and it's really great content and storytelling, because where that exists, there will always be demand. And we see for ourselves, even with a 20-year-old franchise like Harry Potter, we're still reinventing, we're still creating new opportunities around that. We have live experiences as well as like footprints that are existing in Europe. And then in addition to that, recreating new storytelling now on the HBO Max platform. So to me, at the end of the day, what's really very clear is that great storytelling will always resonate and can be reimagined, can be reinvented, but more importantly, can allow for new discovery. And again, I go back to the place of monetization from my vantage point. How do we bring brand partners in? And we did that recently even with Susan's team with The White Lotus. I bring that up, and that's a series, if you're not familiar, you should be. But what I will say is that the genius of that is it's created during the pandemic on a resort because it's the only place where the teams could film at that time and create a narrative. And then we partner with brand partners like Google and create for new discovery and opportunities that otherwise would not happen through this really great series that takes off like fire and is lightning in a bottle. Those you can't plan for, but when you have the right brand partners at the table that are creative and thoughtful and want to be innovative, you create for magic in the marketplace, but you also do in culture and conversation for audiences.
And that's been a change too, because I don't know how many years, like 10 years ago maybe, it was like, you can't go near White Lotus, right? Like you can't go near certain properties, but it's different now, right? There is that openness to align with the right brands, the right audiences, and find ways to extend that initial primary property.
Because we need it. I think we need the engagement. We need the fan conversation. They help fuel, and with the right brand partners doing that, we're bringing it into different communities.
I would say it's also really important to have representatives from those fandoms in your office who you work with. I can't tell you as a video game IP consultant how many stories there were about, like, the game character that had human teeth in the promo that was upsetting to everyone, and it was like the 18-year-old in the building that was like, you got to fix the teeth, man. And then like they re-released the trailer and and saved the day. But like you really need to work with the people who will be consuming your content. And the other thing we don't talk about enough is speed. Is like speed to reaction, speed to change, speed to implement the moment. Like you have to be prepared for that. So we always talk about cheap change and fast change. Like what are the tools you have that can be responsive aside from social media you have, but like the more you can capture, the more you will prevail. We work in a timed economy that's so different than anything we used to have.
I have a Harry Potter obsessed 5th grader at the moment, and it is amazing to me just the extent to which fandom has sort of built him and the ways in which he is able to consume content physically in person, online. It's remarkable, actually. I want to stay on this topic of leadership and also maybe speak, Susan, to you and Keith to you, the role of an agency. I think has really changed quite a lot over the last couple of years in the world of entertainment. And I'm curious, your perspective, Susan, in particular, on what is the role of an agency today, and what role do you think they should be playing in sort of helping shape brand longevity? So not just that launch moment and that cultural sort of impetus, but the long-standing sort of after effect of a brand.
Yeah, so what I love about being part of an agency is that you're sitting in the middle of our partners and our clients. And I believe it's our role is to bridge it. Now, certainly, those relationships exist very much directly, but because of where we sit, we get to see everything. We get all of the potential opportunities brought to us. We can brainstorm with the partners on who is the right client to talk to. We can only, this is not a mass offering. If there's an opportunity to work with a White Lotus or with an Emily in Paris, right? There's only a certain number of brands that will have those integrations. And then there's only a certain number of brands that we're going to all agree belong there based on audience insight. So I believe the ability to present to our clients and then also present back to our partners on who those brands we believe should be front and center, like a BravoCon with Unilever, for an example. Google also did the sponsorship with Emily in Paris. Like, we have so many different examples. Target with Stranger Things. But getting to that, it has to be the right alignment, and it's got to be an alignment among the three. I mean, ultimately, it's the partner and the brand, but we do act as the facilitators of a lot of those relationships.
Yeah.
It's a lot of collaboration and a lot of trust too. I think last year Tubi streamed the Super Bowl, and we actually partnered with 3 brands, and we used a Tubi meme of that should be a Tubi movie. So all over social, different Tubi fans were saying different moments within their lives, oh, that should be made into a Tubi movie. And so we took that meme and we actually translated that with our partners' Super Bowl spots. So turning Elf into a horror movie commercial and taking their Super Bowl spot, which is obviously so precious, but they trusted us and the audience insights that we had and worked together to then bring that exclusively to our platform. But it's really only possible with that collaboration and that trust that we know our audiences, you know yours, and when we can come together, it can be so much more impactful.
I think today, in terms of launching IP, properties, certainly in the entertainment space, the stakes are incredibly high. The time is incredibly short to launch. And really, you have, and also for the brands we work with that partner with the creators themselves, this is probably the largest spend you have of the year in terms of a partnership. So when you combine all of those 3 things together, the stakes are high, the timeline, the roadmap short, and the investment is high. You've got to get it right. And you also have to be incredibly adaptive. Whoever's driving the audiences and motivating the audiences to show up in the theater, to buy video on demand, to purchase products in the line, you've got to move them, you've got to convince them, you've got to move them all the way down the funnel. You've got to be adaptive. And I think certainly we're enjoying having a lot of capabilities to work with, to move audiences to participate and to go see the movie, right? And so if it's working on one channel, or if you need to ramp up creator, at the agency level, I can shift that money around, and I have one source of data that is telling me who is watching, who's engaging, who's buying tickets, and where do I need to shift those investments around. So having that flexibility for the IP creators, working with the agencies, and being able to be nimble and adaptive in that incredibly short, high-stakes timeline has become imperative to me.
Keith, great segue. I wanted to spend a moment actually talking about measurement and measuring success, because I think that all is well and good to be investing this kind of money in content creation and brand partnerships, but if it's not working, you have to fail fast these days. I'm curious, how are you counseling your clients today, and certainly open this to everybody, but Keith, to you, how are you counseling your clients on what measures or indicators of success actually are today? Are they traditional indicators, linear TV ratings, et cetera, or are you looking at and talking about fan engagement, commerce, and the likes? What does that conversation look like in maybe the C-suite, the boardroom, and certainly on Wall Street?
Well, the blocking and tackling of how we measure, why we measure, and what we want to know, that hasn't changed. And it's fundamental across entertainment, across brand verticals. We want to know, are we acquiring you? Are we retaining you? And ultimately, are we growing your value, right? And so that's the blocking and tackling. We've got that. Now, I think where there's a new metric to look at is fan engagement, fan participation, cultural impact. Those things are sort of these soft metrics that if you translate them well, can deliver against your bottom line in what you're measuring, right? Did you anticipate what the fans would do? Are you able to understand what the fans are doing and why they're doing it? Can you then translate that into something that maybe they don't feel that impact, but it is, again, motivating, moving them to buy tickets, video on demand, et cetera. I think that understanding the fan, understanding their motivations, and understanding how did we convert, how do we drive fandom, and ultimately how do we grow fandom? Yeah. That to me is a relatively new KPI for the brands, right? And sure. Not just for the entertainment creators.
Yeah. I would compliment that. Another colleague of mine, Josh Shannon, and I were recently out with our Sephora partners, and we were talking about the success that we have had with Unrivaled, which is our 3-on-3 basketball tournament, part of Turner. And what was so interesting was that the head of marketing advised that the reason it was winning, and from a KPI perspective why, was because we started with telling the stories of the athletes and the women and who they are outside of the game, and that it wasn't just going to be a watermark behind a hoop or a net, but rather allowing fans and consumers to connect through a different perspective and lens. And then on top of that, the fact that Unrivaled has done such a great job of giving the players equity and ownership around the league, what that also did by way of a conversation with empowerment, but women as moms, bringing their families to Florida for the season. And so we had, the storytelling on Bleacher Report, in addition to what we were creating on Sephora's site. And for the team, there was lift. There was an ability to see that there was conversation happening between how the women were glamming up, what they were doing and showing their lifestyles outside, that actually won for them. And so what we were advised as we talk about our next iteration, what we're going to do in 2026, was start with the place of the ecosystem. Where are you talking to the fan and the consumer first, and then build around that? And so that's the scaffolding that we will begin with this year.
Yeah, that notion of fandom as community building and or connection, I think, is really relevant in 2026 as we just sort of enter this chapter where people are online, but really hungry, I think, for offline connection and feeling like these people that they are fans of really are like them. It's really interesting. That's actually a sort of good left turn for us. I think the flip side of the coin of KPIs and measurement and success is creativity. How has this change, how have these changes over the last number of years really changed either for the good or the bad, the ability for creatives to do what they do best and be creative? Margaret, I'm going to throw this one to you as sort of the author and the creative on this panel. What's your take on that? Do you think that these evolutions have unlocked creativity, or has your experience been an industry that is maybe more risk averse as a byproduct of the need to be successful quickly?
I would say all the industries we work with are in some form of turmoil right now, right? Hollywood, which is so different in its many varieties, and streamers and TV, film, comics, prose, and the game industry, consumer products, and influencers, everything. But so we've seen what I'd call healthy plus amount of turmoil everywhere. So relax, it's everybody. And that's also opportunity. We treat IP, lessons from live games in the game industry is, IP as a service. That's how we think of it. And so we think of live IP the way a live game would be. So you're accountable for seasons, events, going through the holidays with your community, going through life with them, giving them jobs. An IP now is a blueprint for a fandom, and take that very seriously from the beginning. I think AI is terrifying in a lot of ways and a great tool in a lot of ways. So independently for creators, we spend a lot of time talking about what the rule set is, and we believe that their contributions will continue to be more important, and taking top-level creatives super seriously and defending that. But we also, try to be really aware of what the competition is, what that means about budgets, what is happening to storytelling in general. So we're in a moment of total flux. I would say there is a spirit of innovation, incubation, and like messing around that the internet gives you in a certain way, and we try to enshrine that because I think we see in the indie game market, for example, things do rise up. So we try to I think that storytelling, on a very small and indie level and on a very large and storied AAA level, both are succeeding from different sides. So we study that a lot and say globally, what works in this market, what works here, and how can we take the spirit of independent thinking and apply it, towards the big legacy play, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So a weird time, a lot in change, room for top shelf talent always, room for young and new thinking and innovation always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just say, from a little bit of a different perspective, what we're seeing from our advertising partners is that they need to be innovative to break through. Like we said at the very beginning, there's so many choices. How are you going to connect and earn your audience's time? If that's a 6-second spot, a 30-second spot, or with us, a TV show or a movie. And what we're seeing is that they're using their foundational kind of proven media to still do that hard work and deliver on the metrics, the traditional metrics that are so important and that are backed, but they are not shying away from innovation. It's actually there's been so much demand that it's really pushed our ad product roadmap. So last year we had maybe 3 ad products that we were bringing to market, and we're going to start 2026 with nearly 15 new ad products that we're bringing to partners because they're looking to break through. And that's you kind of de-risk that a little bit by complementing it with those hard-working, proven media, but then you need to break through with more innovative ad products.
And I think we're about to see a really interesting era right now, and we'll see how it plays out, because I think what the marketing around Marty Supreme, if you've been following this movie, and how Timothée Chalamet has absolutely said, I am grabbing the reins of the marketing of my own movie. I'm controlling my own destiny, and my creativity as an artist is going to flow through the marketing of this film, and the audiences are going to be impacted by my creativity as the lead of the film. I'm wildly impressed by how it's gone. The audiences have sparked to what Timothée Chalamet has been doing with Marty Supreme. So now I'm really curious to see, as we go into 2026, how are some of these tentpole artists or the talent behind this IP, where is their creativity going to shine through? What are they going to bring to market? How are they going to engage the fans? I'm really intrigued. It's high-end stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As we talk about innovation and high end and where we're headed, I will also tell you we have seen incredible success with nostalgia, and in a climate where I think that folks are looking to retreat to something familiar, but also twist on new things. Susan, you brought up Unilever, and last year for Super Bowl, Unilever partnered with Warner Brothers, and When Harry Met Sally is part of the Warner Brothers library, and created this amazing spot, which for many folks, if you grew up and you knew it, it was a nostalgic connection, right? And so you had parents that were like, I relate, but then you have the phenomenal Sydney Sweeney and her connection both with, again, HBO Max's Euphoria in addition to The White Lotus, and she's this new character engaging in this conversation, and you see new and old coming together and creating for, again, riveting conversation. We did the same with Walmart when they approached us last year for their holiday season and said, we want to look into the crates, if you will, and how do we do something really magical and reach our audiences? And together with Gilmore Girls, Love Jones, which was a great film from the 90s and over-indexed with Black audiences, in addition to Crazy Rich Asians, created unique new spots that brought back the talent who had not been together in multiple years. And we saw immediate lift in that on a sweater that one of the characters was wearing in the Gilmore Girls spot sold out in 30 minutes, right?
Wow.
So an example of, and then on social media, Love Jones audience is going, oh my gosh, look, Lorenz Tate and Nia Long, Walmart, you brought them back together for the first time in nearly 30 years. How did you do that? And so they were heroes. These brands were heroes for creating, or Walmart was a hero for creating these connections and bringing this content, but it was also familiar and new at the same time.
Yeah. really interesting. I can hardly believe it, y'all, but we have 5 minutes left, which seems crazy. I want to go back to sort of a round robin and get maybe some final thoughts, some parting words. You know, we've been talking about entertainment, fandom, technology, all working as sort of an ecosystem today to create culture at scale. And, you know, as we enter 2026, I'm curious if you had to pick one thing, just one thing that matters most right now for building and launching and sustaining the next big global entertainment brand, what is it and why? Maybe, Susan, we can just go down the row.
I need a second to think of
Pass
the
it
one
on.
thing.
Oh, I'll pick it up. So I'm going to do two. I hope that's okay.
It'll be all right.
The first one's going to be no surprise. I think I've said this in every single answer. It's knowing your audience, understanding your audience, and remaining relevant with your audience. And then the next one, which is really big at Tubi, is accessibility. Make it easy for them to find you and easy for them to press play.
Awesome.
I think you need a centralized look at data across channels, across properties, across anywhere people are engaging with your IP to understand where the trends are, where you can unlock some value, where you can mine out some of that innovation from the fandom side to say, what if we did this? Data is giving you some of those insights, and data is going to lead you into some of that innovation. So having a holistic view of your audience, where they're transacting, where they're interacting, seems invaluable.
Know your value, I'd say. And I would say radical curiosity. Can you listen to the data? Can you listen to media generations? Are you curious? Can you get different voices around the table earlier than you used to?
Yeah, I love that.
I think I'm going to go back to the other day. It's like IP is golden, and what we're committed to doing at Warner Brothers Discovery right now, regardless of all that's happening, is continuing to make sure that the brand partners are connecting to that IP, and then we're building the ecosystem around it. And that's experiential, that is the data and the insights, that's the existing on our streaming platform for continued conversation in commerce and retail, it's creating conversations on our social platforms, and it's trading off of the fact that within this entire portfolio we have a through line of sports, we have entertainment, we have theatrical, we have comics through DC, and we have opportunities, again, to build innovative storytelling through our brand strategy and solutions team that create narratives in our Courageous Studio. So it's really all-encompassing all the time, and surrounding the fans and audiences wherever they are with the best IP.
Okay. It's being connected in a disconnected world. It is. And
Really
just, you know, Shireen had mentioned nostalgia, right? Like, there's the beauty of the nostalgia. Like, think about Star Wars. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
What was that, 1970-something it came out?
Yeah.
And it has just evolved, right? So there's the nostalgia, but then there's the new, like to your point about gaming. And it's aligning the right brands with the right content for connection.
Sarah, what do you think?
Well, you know, I'm going to steal yours because I think radical curiosity is really critical today. And I think radical curiosity is what has allowed franchises like Star Wars, Harry Potter, and whatnot to have longevity, right? I think that there have been people who have been radically curious about keeping something alive for that long who have really sustained the brands. And I think that's really what sustaining a brand is all about. So I'm gonna steal yours a little bit. All, thank you so much. Team, thank you for your time, for your generosity of thought. I know that it's strapped and everybody's got a busy slate here the next couple of days, so thrilled to kick it off with you all. And thank you all for joining us. I hope it was interesting and inspiring.